My name is Mark Lynn, and I'm the Roommate Coach. This will be episode 28 of the Roommate Coach. I'm calling this New for 2018. Maybe kind of a brief episode compared to some of the others, but I'm just going to give some previews of coming attractions, I guess you'd say. A lot of interesting things going on, both in the area, in the county, and as well as with me personally. And this is KZZH 96.7 FM in Eureka, California, brought to the air here in Eureka by Access Humboldt. They can be reached at accesshumboldt.net. And if you'd like to leave feedback for me for the Roommate Coach, you can do that either online at theroommatecoach.com. There's a contact link on the homepage. And you can also leave a voicemail anytime, 24/7, at area 707-362-8000. 707-362-8000. And as always, the motto here at the Roommate Coach is world peace, one roommate at a time. The big news locally is the initiation of a local home sharing program, and that's being run by the Area 1 Agency on Aging. Dan Birmingham, whom I interviewed on the show a couple of months back, is in charge of the program over at Area 1 Agency on Aging. And before I go any farther, I'll point out that you can contact him at a1aa.org. That's their web address. And you could call over there at 707-442-3763 if you're interested in getting involved with the local home sharing. Just as a quick recap, I've been talking about various shared housing formats for some time now. Home sharing is probably one of the oldest. I mean, people have been sharing shelter for as long as there's been shelter, and they've been finding others to share with in about as many ways as you could imagine. So in a way, it's nothing new, but at the same time, with all the ridiculous housing prices and all the various pressures on housing, everyone's talking about a housing crisis, and it's a real crisis. I mean, we all know that it's harder and harder to find decent housing. So home sharing is one way to do that, and the local agency is going to do everything they can to make it as great an experience as possible. And I'm happy to say it looks like I will be involved in that as well, because let's face it, one of the most important things about sharing a space, sharing shelter, is that it be done in such a way that everybody gets along, and that's where the Roommate Coach comes in. But more specifically, the home sharing, as it's used here, refers to the idea. The idea is to basically benefit everybody in the picture. There are plenty of people in the area, usually, frequently, not always, but frequently seniors that have a home, and for one reason or another, maybe they have some extra space in the home, and they certainly want to stay in their home as the years go by. And on the other hand, there are more and more people out there looking for a place to live. So the idea is to bring these two groups together. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes it'll be an older person with a home and a younger person looking for an affordable place to live. Sometimes there'll be just a direct rental payment, although it's important to note that most of the time the rental fees are substantially lower than they would be on the open market. And of course, this is a big part of the appeal for the renter. And sometimes there will be an energy exchange, as they say, where in return for perhaps even lower rent, the person moving in, the home seeker, will agree to a certain amount of help around the house, which can also be useful for the older person wanting to stay at home. The Area 1 Agency on Aging is going to be supporting the local home share providers and seekers in any number of ways, including, as I mentioned, some of my own involvement as well. The actual matching is going to take place using a website, which the Area 1 Agency on Aging people will help with. And again, you can contact the agency directly if you'd like more information. And as the program evolves, I'm certain I'll be providing more specifics here on the show as well. I guess I can save a few syllables by referring to the Area 1 Agency on Aging as A1AA, which I'll do for the rest of this show. But one thing that they are going to do in support of all this, of the home sharing, is have monthly meetings at their building here in Eureka for anyone who is interested in home sharing, and presumably this could involve some of the potential home providers as well as home seekers. One nice benefit of the regular meetings is these people will get an opportunity to meet each other. Now, another big benefit for me personally, and I'm really excited about it, is the A1AA are going to make regular, it looks like monthly meetings. I guess you'd call them meetings, workshops, evening sessions for me to present some of my thinking as the roommate coach, some ideas and suggestions on ways to increase the chances of this whole home sharing thing working really, really well. So what that means is I will get to meet some of my listeners and vice versa. And I will definitely be providing, more specifics on this when the time comes. And I'll be looking forward to meeting individuals and hopefully helping to make all this work. We all know there's a housing crisis, and we all know that we need a place to live. And this whole thing just seems like such a good idea that if I can do anything to help it to work as well as possible, I will feel really very grateful for that. So a new home sharing program is getting started here in Humboldt County. That's the big local news I referred to. As far as my show is concerned, I've got pretty important news about my next show, which will be the second week in February. I'm going to have a group interview. I'm going to be interviewing people from 4 different home share agencies, the aforementioned A1AA here in town, Dan Birmingham, and Maggie Kraft, also from the A1AA, have both agreed to participate. In addition to them, I'm going to be interviewing Laura Fanucchi of the San Mateo Home Share, down there where I think the average monthly rent for a 1-bedroom apartment is something like $2,600, and the average home price is $1.3 million. They are somewhat on the busy side with their home share. And 2 more agencies who have graciously agreed to be part of the call of the interview are the Santa Cruz home share people, a couple people from there, Liz and Stephen, I believe are their names, and also someone from the San Francisco Home Match, I think it's called. It's a home share agency based in San Francisco, and I can only imagine what they must be going through with the prices in that part of the country. So it looks to be a really interesting interview. I am very much looking forward to it. It will probably turn into perhaps 2 shows. I know my interview with Dan Birmingham back in September he was so generous with his time, I wound up getting 2 shows out of it by the time I did some editing, and then, of course, add my own contemporaneous editorializing, I guess you'd say, after the fact. So that should be a really interesting evolution of the roommate coach. I've been promising my faithful listeners for some time now that I would evolve the show to a point where it was more than just me droning on endlessly, and this will be more of that payoff, I guess, is some actual input from some real people out there in the trenches actually doing doing the work of helping make this home share work. Okay, well, that's going to be it for this, as I mentioned, relatively brief version of the show. I apologize for the brevity, but I believe I will make up for it in the next show, or perhaps the next couple of shows, because, as I mentioned, I think my group interview should wind up being pretty interesting and hopefully quite informative as well. So this has been episode number 28, talking about new for 2018. Episode 28 of The Roommate Coach, I should mention. And you've been listening to KZZH 96.7 FM here in Eureka, California, brought to the air by Access Humboldt. You can reach them at accesshumboldt.net. You can leave feedback for The Roommate Coach at theroommatecoach.com, or you can call 707-362-8000 and leave a voicemail anytime. Also, it bears repeating, if by chance you're interested in finding out more about the local home share program, you can contact Dan Birmingham directly at A1AA, the Area 1 Agency on Aging, and he can be reached at 707-442-3763. The bumper music for The Roommate Coach is called Rollin' at 5, and that's by Kevin MacLeod. I think there's going to be quite a bit more exciting news and things to come in the near future. So I really appreciate everyone listening to the Roommate Coach radio show here. I'm having a good time providing the information, and I hope it's doing some good. And I almost always like to include my motto, which is world peace, one roommate at a time. I think it's just as important as ever as we move into 2018. So once again, thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to talking to you again real soon.